What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 22. In the last video, we had the Australian Grand Prix.
They're pretty low. We might have to start shutting down facilities.
It was not one of my better races. I really struggled for pace. I was really only competitive with the Williams cars and maybe Zhou Guanyu as well, and that was about it. So I'm really hoping for a redemption day here at Imola. It's a bit more downforce focused than Australia, which has now become a bit more of a top speed circuit with the changed corners. So I was really hoping that this race would go a little bit better than Australia went. See, I'm just looking through everything, and it's time we can assign a new secondary sponsor. We've reached Acclaim level 5, which means we now have the Acclaim to sign another sponsor. And I was just having a look at who was giving the most weekly income, and also who had a good goal bonus, and who I thought we could get on with. And I think eventually for this one here, Opaque, their goal is to qualify in P15 or better. I have done that at every race so far, so my logic was surely that will be able to continue going forward. So yeah, that's going to be on our car for at least the next few race weekends or so, and hopefully we are able to qualify in P15. And if it's not me, hopefully it's Christian, but somehow I find that unlikely. Having looked through the wear on all of my things, my gearbox is getting very worn already, so I don't think that's going to last 6 races. And then there were no R&D upgrades that we could do at the moment, so yeah, just time to move forward. Had the failed upgrade there.
More potential partners become willing to work with us. We can now approach an additional sponsor from the corporate tab.
So yeah, we have to redo that upgrade, and now it won't be on the car in time for Imola, but that's fine because it was only a durability upgrade.
On the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
We have a marketing department event here, and it's asking me who is my rival. Is it Daniel Ricciardo or is it Lance Stroll? And I was looking here and I was thinking to myself, well, who do I think I stand a better chance of beating across a race weekend? And the answer really is neither of them based on our pace in Australia, but eventually I go for Lance Stroll, because I figure if I've got a chance of beating anyone, it's most likely going to be him over someone like Ricciardo. And yeah, whilst I still don't think that I've got a particularly high chance of beating him, I think I can probably fluke my way past him more than I'd be able to fluke my way past Daniel Ricciardo, because that McLaren is vastly pulling away from us in the performance standings. Just had a look through the costs of some various things. I'm looking to start upgrading my facilities now, but we couldn't afford anything outside of some stuff in the personnel, and I didn't really want to upgrade that yet because at the moment I'm working on developing the car, and developing the driver can come a little bit later. So here we are going into a Pirelli Hot Lap. We choose a checkpoint challenge. These have been in previous games in the classic cars game mode in I think they removed it either in 2019 or 2020. So it hasn't been in for a while, but I always like these checkpoint challenges. Of course now they're in supercars instead of in your classic ex-Formula 1 cars. Just speed through this because it was actually quite a long activity. Again, it's like, a lap around here in this car takes like 2 minutes, and I do at least 2 laps of these, so I thought I would speed up for your benefit. But it's all pretty straightforward. You see I unlock another supercar token there. I think at that point I've unlocked as many supercar tokens as I need to get all the supercars that are currently in the game. I got a track limits warning at some point earlier, which is not a good omen for the race weekend. If I can't even keep a car that has a max speed of 150 miles an hour on track, how am I going to keep one that has 200 miles an hour on the track? But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. 10,250 meters was the goal here. Honestly, I think they could have upped it to maybe like 11k or something like that, because this seemed way easier than any of the other challenges. The average speed zone, the drift challenge, this seemed far simpler than those. And yeah, in the end we get just over 11k and we get the gold. So I was pretty happy about that. $100,000 1,000 acclaim, all good. And yeah, now I think what we are going to do next is we're going to go for a quality control upgrade in the chassis department. So finally, after, what is this, the fourth race weekend now, we are finally getting some department upgrades, some facility upgrades, in the hopes that we can develop our car at a faster rate and at a better rate, and we're able to unlock better upgrades. So yeah, I'm hoping for the best, and I'm hoping that we can do well and make some improvements in the chassis department. So here we are at the race weekend. Some messages here. One from Charlie saying about the weekend preview. We had one failed upgrade and one successful upgrade, and then Mark's just talking about how the weather is going to be not so nice, sadly, or at least in the sprint race it has a potential to not be so nice, and but everywhere else it looks like it might stay dry actually. So I'm not really sure what I was talking about there. Yeah, just looking through drivers' standings. Carlos Sainz not quite got the stranglehold that he had on this championship after the first couple of races, after I think it was a contact-heavy and quite disappointing Australian Grand Prix for him. So yeah, he's going to want to bounce back here at this race weekend. It's a sprint weekend this time, so there's only 2 practice sessions, and there is qualifying before P2 on the Friday. So qualifying will come up a little quicker today than usual, but first it is time for practice. So the practice lap we're doing here is the fuel management lap, and really the reason I'm showing you this as opposed to anything else is you may be thinking, why do we want to watch a fuel management lap? It's kind of, even though I was lifting and coasting into these corners, I wasn't doing it dramatically, and it was kind of me trying to highlight the difference between our pace in sector 1 and our pace in the other sectors throughout the lap. Because at the moment you'll see I'm already like knocking on the door of being a second down on the delta, and we've done what, one sector of this lap of the 3 sectors. So I was thinking to myself, yeah, this is going to be a race weekend of pain, isn't it? But then pretty much as soon as I start kind of having those negative thoughts creeping into my head, I go through Aqua Minerale and I go through sectors 2 and 3, and I find that our pace is drastically better through these sectors. Now I'm only 3/10 down as opposed to the 7/10 down I was beforehand, and I was starting to think to myself, oh, I see, so maybe the problem isn't quite as dire as I thought it was, and by the time that we round the second Ravazza, we are making up enough time to go back into the green, and I actually passed the practice program, which was something I wasn't really expecting. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise to pass that. Telemetry here, you see our tyre wear is actually very low compared to what they were expecting, and my pace was kind of all over the place. You see I even didn't meet the delta on lap 3, so that was pretty rough.
Of our top 3, who are Verstappen, Russell and Valtteri Bottas. What an incredible practice session that was, but the fun doesn't stop here though. Join us again as the rest of the weekend unfolds.
Nonetheless, I was pretty skeptical about what this would mean for the race. I was anticipating it was going to be a repeat of Australia, where we were going to qualify well, but then we weren't going to have a particularly good race, because the thing about being fast in the final 2 sectors is that's not anywhere where you can overtake people. You always overtake people in the first sector, usually. So, yeah, I wasn't particularly optimistic about any semblance of pace or anything like that. But, it remains to be seen. I'm not gonna say that we're completely down on our luck. Mark talking about what's tricky, and I think he basically comes to the conclusion that the whole track is tricky, which I'm inclined to agree. This Imola, I hadn't said already, but it's kind of a bit of a bogey track for me in a way. I only played it a couple times on last year's game, but I wouldn't call myself an Imola specialist or nothing like that. And honestly, I really struggle to go well around here. I think my best result around here, I've not even, you know, been on the podium or anything like that. So I'm just kind of hoping that we can keep the car on the track and hopefully finish the race for one, preferably ahead of Lundgaard would be the ideal. My first flying lap was a 1:18.4, which was good enough to put me P4 initially, but by the time that everyone gets around again, I'm down in P18. And yeah, here we are now on my second flying lap, just starting, and yeah, we're going to need to make some improvements. The yellow flag in sector 1, and that is Alex Albon off the track, and he massively gets in my way, or not massively, but it's enough to kind of unsettle me and unsettle my pace as well. And as you can see, yeah, we got a bit wide at the second chicane, and going around the hairpin. We're already 0.3 down in our time, and I am crucially on a new set of tyres this time. So you can see that that block, whilst it wasn't the worst thing that could have happened to me, it still unsettled me a little bit. But anyway, we're making up time through sector 2, go through Acqua Minerale, and now we're only, you know, just over a 1/10 down on our delta. So, you know, I was thinking maybe if I get a good chicane and a good Ravazza, then perhaps it will be alright. My chicane, I kind of throw myself at it a little bit, but it works out in my favour because, you know, we're still gaining time on our previous lap. And we go into the green momentarily, and then I just go over the curb a little bit. But then I run wide there anyway, and I lose time. So I wouldn't have improved. And in the end, it is only good enough for P20. That is the worst qualifying I have had so far. I didn't even get out of Q1 this time. I was becoming a Q2 mainstay, but no. It's over, I'm afraid. The dream is over, and that means that we will not meet the sponsor goal, because as you're about to see when we get through all this podium pass malarkey, eventually, and I have to scroll down as well, so I preempted myself a little bit there. But yeah, anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that Lundgaard did not get it either. He got P19, but he did out-qualify me for the first time this season, very marginally, by, what is that, like a 1/10 or 2? I think it's not even a 1/10, so yeah, it was very, very close between me and Lundgaard, but very, very close is not good enough. You know, it's the first season, and you know, you hire a Formula 2 driver who's inexperienced, who's in what's the word I'm looking for, you know, he hasn't got the pace, he hasn't got the racecraft. You really should be beating him at every race weekend, even, you know, even at your bogey tracks. So maybe my driving situation at Imola is more dire than I expected. So we lose out to Lance Stroll, who I think got P15 or something like that. I don't quite remember, but yeah, it wasn't good enough to match him. Still gained a claim, which I thought was weird. So clearly the F1 gods do not have much confidence in the pace of our car either. But that's fine. And now here we are, just looking through all the development boosts that we got. These spark plugs are now free. I think I preempted that in last video where I said, you know, perhaps the spark plugs are going to be free soon if we keep this up. But for whatever reason, when I pressed the automatic recommendation thing, they still don't feel like recommending me to upgrade them. So I think, as you're about to see here, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. First, we got a message from Mark talking about pre-race stuff, saying that the rain will come down at the very end of the sprint. So, you know, that could be some potential for us to get back into the action. We got a chassis upgrade going on here, and then they weren't recommending anything else, but we're not upgrading anything in the engine department. So I said, screw it. If these spark plugs are free, it's literally only going to cost me my time, and that's it. So I went for them, and I'm hoping that we can have a little bit of straight line speed upgrade. It won't be a massive deal, but anything's better than nothing. And now it is time to get into my first ever F1 sprint in this game.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and a very happy Carlos Sainz will start second. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Sergio Perez, and Russell. Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Magnussen, and Mick Schumacher. Bottas, Norris, Yuki Tsunoda, and Gasly. Joe, Vettel, Alex Albon, and Lance Stroll. Lundgaard, Robinson, Ricciardo, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
So the irony of choosing Stroll as my rival is that I ended up out-qualifying Ricciardo, but Stroll got P18, so he was a couple places ahead of me. No stops in the sprint, obviously, so I don't really know why I'm bothering with strategy. I guess I could have changed the fuel a little bit, but there's no point. I want to make sure I finish the race, and I don't think my fuel load makes too big of a difference. We got the formation lap here, and yeah, so really at this point what's going through my mind is just kind of keep it clean, and you know, keep it, if I can make up a couple places, if I can get ahead of Lundgaard and Stroll, that would be sort of the ideal scenario. But you know, at the end of the day, like I said, my main concern is just finishing this race, because I really do struggle around this track quite a lot. This has probably become a bigger bogey track for me than even Monaco, but we'll see if that's true or not. Anything can happen in a sprint. Anything at all can happen in a sprint. It's 11 laps. You know, people can make mistakes, and then at the back of the grid you can have random DNFs. It's just a good way to work your way up the grid order for the start of the following race. And you see, I pretty much get Lundgaard off the start here. But you know, he gets a bit racy with me. I got to back out to make sure I don't career into the back of Lance Stroll. I think Lundgaard actually tags me on the side there, but we do just about squeeze ahead. But already, Stroll and Albon are a long way up the road, and you know, that was kind of difficult to see, because it meant it was going to be hard for me to get ahead of them. But I do attempt to move on Lance Stroll going into the hairpin, but he just about stays ahead of me. It's just it's a traction thing, and it's a straight line speed thing. Ricciardo goes for a move up the inside. I actually have to fall off the track to try and hold on to my position, but in the end it doesn't make a difference. And I think that's Latifi there going for a lunge on me down into Acqua Minerale, and he almost made it work. He also goes for me again going through the chicane. I almost go into the back of Ricciardo trying to defend my position there, but you know, we got to do what we got to do. And that was, yeah, opening lap was very difficult to keep clean, because I had a lot of things going on around me. I think someone in front must have damage by the looks of things. I think it's Vettel, because he's drastically falling off the back of Tsunoda or whoever that is. And yeah, he does come in. Actually, it was Albon. So it's Albon coming into the pits at the end of lap 1, and now here we are on lap 2, and we're being closed down by Latifi again, going into the Ravazzas. Can we outbrake him? Position our car nicely, and we just just about managed to get the run on him, but then we run a little bit wide at the second Ravazza, and that could potentially give him the run on us, especially considering he will have straight line speed. He won't have any DRS this lap, and we are burning our battery, so perhaps we'll get away with it. And Alonso is out, so yeah, that is a shame for him, but it means he'll be starting at the back of the actual race tomorrow. So here we are now. Latifi's got DRS, and I don't have much battery left already on lap 3, and then as soon as he gets past, my DRS stops working. So I'm thinking to myself, great, well there goes my chance of getting back ahead of him. And yeah, that was pretty much that as far as the Latifi battle is concerned. He's already 5/10 up the road in my slow sector because he's got that superior straight line speed. Our aero package also isn't fantastic. And also I get a warning for exceeding track limits there, which is to be expected. I was thinking at this point, not again, because obviously we had an issue in Saudi Arabia, and if I DNF 2 of the first 4 races, I know this is the sprint, but it still counts in my opinion. That really doesn't say much about our reliability at all, as far as I'm concerned.
I can confirm it's an issue with our engine, I'm afraid. Good news, it looks like the fault's been fixed. Let's go.
But fortunately, we get away with it this time. Yeah, it's a bit random that they were able to identify the fault and then fix it that quickly. In the chaos of focusing on my DRS and that engine fault, Lundgaard goes through, and I don't really even notice that he's sizing up the move because I'm too busy worrying about myself. We then have the threat of rain that gets announced over the radio from Mark. He says it's about 5 minutes out, which means it might hit on these last couple of laps. And that's kind of what I was praying for. I was kind of praying on maybe the rain will hit, maybe some people, you know, will fall off the circuit because there'll be dry tyres on a wet track. Stroll has a bit of an issue, and at this point I was kind of wondering, okay, well maybe I can reel him in. If Latifi and Lundgaard can get ahead of him, perhaps I can too, and then, you know, I'll be able to fulfill some of my rivalry criteria. And then Lundgaard has a problem, according to Mark, which makes me think maybe I can reel him as well. And, you know, over the course of lap 9, lap 8 rather, I'm able to catch him heading into lap 9. So, you know, it should be fairly straightforward to find my way through him. I'm not quite close enough to the DRS zone. I'm assuming he must have been burning some battery there to try and stay ahead of me. Or maybe he's just running a much lower downforce setup than I am, but I don't know. So now, with Lundgaard's problem, we just need to clear him as cleanly and quickly as possible. Otherwise, you know, I don't want to get held up by my teammate. Really, he should be instructed to let me past if he's got a problem and I'm, you know, my car's seemingly fine. I think my DRS fault was fixed at this point as well, so, you know, there's not really much to worry about. But unfortunately, you know, I'm looking for every way past him, but there just doesn't seem to be a way through. And all this time, Nicholas Latifi and subsequently Lance Stroll up ahead are all getting away from me. I go for a move down into the chicane, but can't make it stick, and Sebastian Vettel is out. So that's another car that will be starting behind us in the sprint, which would make 3 cars. It would make Vettel and Alonso who DNF'd, and it would make Albon, who had a problem at the start of the race. So we're in last, effectively, of drivers who've kept it clean, but we are sizing up a move on Lundgaard at last. It's about time with this problem. We really should have made this move happen sooner, but he's just so persistent. And yeah, in the end, I barely make the chicane. I actually get some underbody damage as a result. And Lundgaard still isn't out of it. He's still like, yeah, I want this position. I want this P18. My boss who pays my wages. I'm gonna potentially take both of us out of this sprint. I don't really mind too much, apart from getting the bonus for keeping the car clean. That's kind of what I'm most concerned about. And then, yeah, I stay ahead of him and pull away. And on lap 11, Charles Leclerc comes to the finish line and wins the sprint, so that's a nice 8 points in his back pocket. I don't think you get a bonus point for fastest lap in the sprint, so yeah, just a nice little 8 points for him. And yeah, in the end, you know, we're coming up to the final few corners now, and I'm just shocked at how little pace we have in this race. You know, we're 7 seconds down on Latifi. Stroll's got a problem, and we couldn't even reel him in when he had a problem. That's the pace that we're looking at here. We can't even catch an Aston Martin with a mechanical problem, and it's P18 in the end. P18. That's brutal. That's absolutely brutal that our car has fallen by this. You know, I was challenging for P5. in the first race. I know I lost a few of those positions in the straights, but still, seriously, P18, and that's just a sprint. That's an 11-lap race. Imagine what might happen in a 32-lap race. Imagine what might have happened if Lundgaard hadn't had a mechanical problem.
This result then narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Let's have a look then at the driver's standings. It's time to check out the constructors' standings. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. Another team that excelled today were Williams, who make further progress up the table. Well, that wraps up the sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So, yeah, Leclerc wins from Sainz, and third is Lewis Hamilton. So, very good job from him to finish ahead of both Red Bulls and ahead of his teammate George Russell. But it does mean it will be a Ferrari 1-2 on the grid for tomorrow's actual race. So, yeah, they're in good standing. Also in good standing seems to be myself and Lundgaard, even though we finished P18 and P19. Apparently that's good enough for us to slowly increase our acclaim, which I guess people know what to expect with us, and apparently it's not very much. Another pre-race email from Mark. Weather's looking fine for this race, and he's just saying that the pit lane is narrow and comes up, like the pit limit line comes up sooner than you might expect. So hopefully that will all be fine in the race. I'm sure only one pit stop, so not a big deal.
Welcome back to Imola, home circuit of the Scuderia Ferrari. We expect to see a lot of local supporters wearing red today, and they've all turned out for what we're expecting will be a sensational event here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. One lap of Imola, anti-clockwise of course, unlike most Formula One circuits, will take our drivers round 3.1 miles of track. 19 turns, 9 right-handers and 10 to the left. Drivers will need to be precise at the hairpin at turn 7, given the subsequent uphill section. Without a good exit from that corner, they'll lose a lot of time on that stretch. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And the smooth operator Carlos Sainz completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Verstappen, George Russell and Perez, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, Magnussen and Lando Norris, Bottas, Tsunoda, Guan Yu Zhou and Gasly, Ricciardo, Latifi, Lance Stroll and Robinson, Lundgaard, Albon, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. It's race day yet again, and joining me for a chat is Anthony Davidson. And our racers are certainly in for a rough day today. What will you be watching out for as they head into turn 1?
Well, the start of the race is always one of the most nerve-wracking parts. You have to hope that everyone is able to get off to a clean start, and this is possibly the trickiest part of the entire race. So many drivers in such a small space, and finding your braking point into turn 1 as well. It's a testament to the driver's skill that there aren't more incidents.
Right, so can we do a little bit better this time out? Personalized strategy doesn't deviate too much from the projected strategy. It's just a 1 lap difference, but perhaps this will enable us to overcut a few cars ahead of us, if there's even any cars ahead of us. I guess that remains to be seen, but Imola is often fraught with incidents. Turn 1, I've seen so many crashes and spins and people going straight on or losing front wings or whatnot. Here we are on the formation lap, just making sure to get up into 8th gear initially, which we just about manage, and then we're going to come back around hopefully in just a moment, and we'll see how I line up on the grid. So here we go. I almost go into the back of Stroll while I'm lining up on the grid, but we come in well to the grid slot, and I'm getting better at these. There you go, look at that. That wasn't bad at all, was it? Incredible parking, says Mark. I was pretty happy with that. And now here we are. 5 red lights go on. 5 red lights go off. and it's a decent start. Starting alongside Lance Stroll, my rival, and we're already, you know, next to him, but you can already see the straight line speed differential. He has to back out because Ricciardo's close, and I massively misjudge where I need to stop there, so I have to kind of go off the track to avoid going into the back of Nicholas Latifi. But we do keep ahead of Stroll, and RIP that DRS board, which I careered through just then. Looks like there might have been an incident up front, or people going wheel to wheel or something like that. I send one up the outside of Latifi and Ricciardo, but unfortunately I overshoot the corner a little bit, which allows both of them to get back past. It also allows Lance Stroll to have a run on me here. I'm going to see if I can hold on around the outside. I think we make contact, judging by the fact that I throw up a hand there, but I didn't hear anything. And now we're on the run down to Acqua Minerale. We go up the hill towards the chicane. Is Lance Stroll going to have another go at me into the chicane? He definitely moves over to the right, or to the left, I guess, in his view. But he just doesn't quite have the speed to make it happen. But perhaps he'll go for another move on me down into the Ravazzas. Let's see. Yep, he is once again side by side as we go down the hill, going down into the final Ravazza, or the first Ravazza, side by side. But I just squeeze him out, and I keep ahead to the second Ravazza. So here we go, we're back on the onboard now, and he will have the superior straight line speed. He has a Mercedes engine, I've got a Renault. Even when I'm burning battery, he's still, you know, catching up to the side of me. And yeah, he goes through at the first chicane, and Lundgaard follows through with him. So I lose 2 positions in one corner, or 2 corners, however you want to view that. I guess we were kind of side by side through the first part of the chicane, but yeah, that was pretty bad. I run a little bit wide there, and then we are here on the end of lap 2, going into the start of lap 3. DRS is enabled, and Kevin Magnussen comes into the pits, assuming damage on account of the fact that it's, you know, he pitted on lap 2, so I wouldn't think that his strategy would be so aggressive that he would pit from a set of, I think he was on mediums. He wouldn't pit from a set of mediums on lap 2. If you look down in the bottom right, you'll see that it does seem to be some kind of technical thing. That is wear on my gearbox. Obviously we had a sprint as well. So 4 races deep into this season, and yeah, I am already going to need to change gearbox, so that's definitely going to be some penalties coming up. Here we are on lap 4, and I've got Sebastian Vettel behind me, who obviously he had a penalty and he had a DNF in the sprint, so that's why he started behind me, and he puts a bit of pressure on me into the hairpin, and that won't be the last pressure that he puts on me over the course of this lap. You see, he pulls alongside and gets ahead, but I stick one around the outside. I've been really using the full width of the track and a bit more at that point in the circuit, but you know, as long as I don't get a warning or a penalty for it, I think it's fair game. A bit more pressure from Vettel down into Acqua Minerale and going up the hill into the chicane. And, you know, I still just about outbrake him and keep ahead through the chicane. But all this time, you know, it's gonna compromise my ability to keep ahead with the likes of Lundgaard, Latifi and Stroll. I think are the 3 cars ahead who are kind of having a bit of a mini battle between themselves. And that's gonna be pretty bad for our chances of having a decent result in this race. And now here we are focusing on Sebastian Vettel in the replay camera, because he is going to be sizing up some more moves on me. You know, he's putting pressure on me all the way through lap 4, so I can only assume that that pressure will continue throughout lap 5 unless I drastically pick up the pace, which, spoiler alert, I'm pretty much pushing flat out. Not flat out, but you know, I am trying. And yeah, he gets ahead through there, and Alonso looks like going for a move there, but he just, I think I kind of cut him off a little bit. So, sorry, Fernando, I guess, for that one. Now we are at the end of lap 5, and you know, Fernando Alonso is behind me with the DRS. I have no battery left, and it's not even a competition really. He just goes breezing past, and he's on hard compound tyres as well. And Alex Albon now behind me as well. Obviously he was who I was fighting with in Australia. But here in Imola, where I have even less pace than I had in Australia, was that contact between Alonso and Vettel? I think they got away unscathed. I look up the inside of Vettel here because I think he's had contact, but I think I misjudged it slightly because I think he's actually alright. And as a result, Alex Albon's able to get through past me at the hairpin going up the hill, and through the fast left-hander. I don't have the traction to keep my foot in it at this point. My tyres are starting to go off a little bit, and yeah, through Akmal Minerale, we are now in 21st, which is pretty brutal. Here we are with Yuki Tsunoda. What's happening here? He goes on at the chicane, and is he out? He's certainly stopped right on the apex of the chicane, but he's kept it going, so I'm not really sure what happened there. Nice of him not to just go careering back onto the track as soon as he overshot the corner a little bit, but you saw me and everyone else that I'm racing with go through, and now Tsunoda's a couple seconds behind me. Alonso's in. I can only assume he had contact with someone, but I didn't manage to catch who it was. That would be disappointing for him on account of the fact that he started on the hards and was probably having to go long. He's switched over to the softs, so he clearly doesn't think he can make a stint on the mediums last 23 laps. I'd have to agree. And now here we are riding on board with, this is Sebastian Vettel racing with my teammate Christian Lundgaard, going down into the chicane. Is he going to size up a move on him? Oh, that's a bit of Sebastian Vettel's front wing, I think, so he's clearly got some damage there. That's a shame for him. That means he's probably going to have to make an early stop, and as you can see on the timing board there, he does just that, and we are now pressuring Albon on the back of him. We run a bit wide, and that allows Yuki Tsunoda back through, and yeah, every time I'm pushing just a little bit too hard, and I'm falling off the track. It's a little bit frustrating that this is happening, but yeah, I'm really feeling the pressure in this race, and all the people around me are not feeling the pressure to the same degree. So yeah, it's difficult, but hopefully something will click with me soon, and perhaps we'll be able to start putting pressure on these people. I don't expect to be able to race with Tsunoda. On a good day, he's a top 10 contender. On a good day, I'm a top 16 contender. And yeah, that's pretty much that as far as Tsunoda's concerned. We've got Kevin Magnussen, who's closing down behind, but he's still a few laps out. And then lap 15, here we are, we're coming into the pits, which allows Esteban Ocon through, because I think a lot of people had already pitted at that point, including probably Ocon. So yeah, let's see if we can get a good stop here coming into the pits. That is Tsunoda ahead of me, who has also come in, and boom, optimal. And the stop isn't bad either, so finally everything has clicked between me and my pit crew, and we have been able to pull off a 2.5 second stop. I don't overshoot it, they don't cock it up, and yeah, that was good, because it means we come out ahead of Vettel still. But we do have these cold hards, so I think he'll be putting some pressure on me. You see I'm frantically weaving, trying to get some heat into these tyres. But it doesn't stop me from going wide here, which doesn't stop Sebastian Vettel from going through. Mark with some words of encouragement there, but I think they are misplaced, unfortunately, because I don't think we can win that place back. I think even the Aston Martins are faster than us this weekend. Pierre Gasly retires. We'll see if we get a replay of that. Christian Lundgaard goes through. Lots of things going on at the moment. There's Pierre Gasly, we just drove past him now. And now Kevin Magnussen with a little bit of pressure on us from behind. We're going to switch to the cinematic camera here. So Kevin Magnussen on my outside, you see he's safely through, but he locks up. You see there a little bit, there's a bit of a lock up, which causes him to take the corner horrendously, and that allows me to just about squeeze back through ahead of him. So we keep ahead of Kevin Magnussen for now. This is for position, so I'm going to try and be as racy about it as I possibly can. Through the Ravazzas. And yeah, once again he's going to have DRS behind me, and we're going to be really struggling here to keep a Haas behind with that Ferrari power unit in the back of it. No dice, unfortunately, and now we are back down in P20. Alonso was in the pits. He's now 5 seconds behind, and we are attempting to make a move on Christian Lundgaard, who has slowed down a little bit towards the dying moments of this race. There's a yellow flag there. I'm not sure what that was for, but I do see some debris on the track. I was looking for a way through past some of these drivers, but could not quite make it happen, unfortunately. I think it's Yuki Tsunoda's got damage, but don't quote me on that. We make a little bit of contact, but we do get ahead of him at the hairpin, but then he's got the superior straight line speed. And you'll see here, he's got no front wing. His entire front wing is gone. What does this mean? This means that our car, or at least my pace around Imola, is slower than Yuki Tsunoda and AlphaTauri with no front wing. Because I don't get past him again. I can't get past him. Obviously, eventually he'll come into the pits here, but going down into the chicane, going down towards Ravazza, you know, he has no front wing and he is able to drive faster than I am. And I don't think I have any damage. You know, you can look at my car, it's a bit dirty from all the times I've gone onto the grass and whatnot, but it's not broken or anything like that. So I really am struggling to understand why I am so slow compared to all of these cars. Fortunately, it's only one race, but still, you know, it's... I mean, what if it's not only one race? What if the likes of Monaco, and what if the likes of Miami, which I've never driven before? What if those are a similar deal? There's a bit of a slow movement through the chicane there. I think maybe there was some contact between someone there, but I think it was Albon maybe made a mistake through the chicane or something like that, and that has allowed me to once again catch up to the back of this train, which I think is Vettel, Albon, Alonso, Lundgaard, and myself. Got DRS this time, but so is pretty much everyone in this train. So I think it would be very fortunate if we were able to make a move going down to the chicane. I do have a quick look, but yeah, nothing doing on this occasion. And now we are just trying to stick with this train to see if perhaps I can make a move on my teammate Christian Lundgaard. There's some more mistake there, I think, with some wheel-to-wheel battling between Albon and Alonso, and this allows me to catch up on this train a little bit once again. Like you've seen, that my pace of the corners is fine, so it's not a difficulty issue. Because I think a lot of people would think, oh, well, if you're so much slower than the AI, then perhaps it's a difficulty thing. Here, we keep our foot in it the whole way through Acqua Minerale, and we do what Latifi tried to do to us on lap 1 to our teammate Christian Lundgaard. And then we get blue flags, but obviously I'm going to wait for Lundgaard to move out of the way before I think about moving out of the way. He lets Leclerc through at the chicane, and then yeah, I'm now going to have to move off the racing line and let Leclerc through myself. So I go a bit wide there and slow down, which lets Leclerc go through, going down into the first Ravazza. And we've been lapped, lap 23, and we have been lapped. But this is going to be a common occurrence. If I was doing 100% distance races, I'd probably get lapped twice. Such is the pace of our car. But yeah, maybe with Albon getting the blue flags to Leclerc, perhaps this will enable us to catch up to him and get ahead of him. He has to take turn 1 wide, and this gives us a beautiful opportunity. But it just has so much traction, and it has so much straight line speed that we just... Even when he's slowed down that much to let another car through, we can't capitalise on the fact that he's slowed down. This is just turning into one of the saddest races I've ever had. We just can't do anything. This is Fernando Alonso going straight on to turn 1, and he's done kind of the same thing that Yuki Tsunoda did at the final chicane, and this allows me and Lundgaard to come back through. And you see now Alonso's a long way behind, and I believe that is his fellow countryman Carlos Sainz now getting ahead of him. So yeah, that was a big mistake from Fernando Alonso, and you see that now he's 3 seconds down on Christian Lundgaard. I am trying to keep Lundgaard behind desperately because now he's got the DRS, and I obviously don't have much battery power left, and it just doesn't work for me. I can't keep him behind because even he with, like, you know, the 65 pace or whatever it is that he's got, even he is faster than me. And this was when I was really realizing the gravity of the situation. Lundgaard has been faster than me all weekend. You know, in qualifying he out-qualified me. In the sprint he would have almost certainly finished ahead of me if it weren't for his mechanical problem. And in this race he just has the pace advantage over me. Not by a country mile or anything like that, but you know, he is definitely the faster of the Jaguars this weekend. I try to get out of Carlos Sainz's way there, but for some reason he decides he wants to go to the left, which I kept clean. Lundgaard now slows down to let Sainz through, and this weirdly allows me through. And now you're going to see what happens here. Sainz goes to the place that I'm covering off, and then he goes into the side of me and loses his front wing. I was trying to let him through. I tried so hard. And then I don't know if you caught there, but a puff of smoke came out of the back of his car. So I don't know if me breaking his front wing was the reason why his engine blew up. But, yeah, sorry, Carlos. I think he's probably going to blame me for that one, even if it wasn't necessarily my fault, because it did look like a mechanical failure. It did not look like it was, you know, I didn't break any of his tyres or anything like that. Here at the top of the hill, as we go into the fast left-hander, we're going to let George Russell through. He certainly makes it harder than it needs to be. I slowed down so much there, which has allowed Alonso to catch up to the back of me once again. He's now going to have DRS, and like in the sprint, once again, we seem to have some kind of phantom issue, which Mark can't divulge any more detail on at the moment. It would really suck. It would really suck if after all this effort that we've put in this race, I know that obviously we're not...
Okay, it's not good news, I'm afraid. Seems like an engine issue. So the issue seems to be fixed, but we'll keep monitoring.
Somehow we get away with it twice. I was going to say it would really suck if we would, after all the hardship we've had to go through in this race, if we didn't finish it. Fernando Alonso goes for a send on me in the chicane there, and I say no, thank you, Fernando. You're going to have to do it with dignity if you want to get past me. I think Hamilton is now fast approaching behind, and he, you know, fortunately there's a big long straight which he can now get ahead of me at, so it shouldn't be too much of a big deal. Alonso, I assumed, was going to move out of Hamilton's way, but instead he says, nope, you're going to move out of my way, which means I then have to get out of Hamilton's way. Obviously, Alonso was first on the agenda, but then Alonso slows down, and this allows me to go back through. Yeah, I keep my foot in it through the first chicane, and that is P17 taken once again. I was really, this was gloves off with Fernando Alonso at this point. You know, me and him, you know, scrapping back and forth. Him going for sends on me sending it around the outside of him. You know, this is proper racecraft. This is the kind of race you could only have with Fernando Alonso. You know, you've seen all those highlights of him against Sebastian Vettel, against Mark Webber, against so many drivers over the years. Even that epic defense he put up against Lewis Hamilton in Hungary last year in a much slower car. He is a titan, and he's not going to go lightly. So I'm going to have a real job on my hands. Going down into the chicane, he forces me off the track there. There was nowhere I could have gone without massively slowing down. And yeah, that allows him through, and it also allows my teammate Christian Lundgaard through. And now we are down in P19. We lose 2 places in 2 corners again, effectively. And that was, you know, it was a dirty move, but it was Fernando Alonso taking what he perceived to be rightfully his. Charles Leclerc wins the Grand Prix, he gets fastest lap, and he won the sprint. That is the maximum gambit of 34 points for him. Carlos Sainz will be absolutely devastated that he couldn't make it a Ferrari 1-2. And as you see, as we're coming down into the final Rovatzes here, I am closing down on Lundgaard. I'm trying everything I possibly can. You know, I'm 3/10 down on him. I'm burning all of my battery. I'm going to have DRS to the line, but the line just comes up too quickly. And it will be P19 in this race. Another P18, P19. All that happened there was me and Lundgaard swap places. Fernando Alonso gets driver of the day. That was a kick in the balls. He only finished like 17.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think it was clear what the main contributing factor out on track was: speed. I know it sounds like an awfully reductive statement, but fast cars win races, and we saw that today with our winner.
action again. An excellent performance at today's Grand Prix, and they're certainly a team that know what they're doing out there.
So yeah, Leclerc victory, and then it's a double Mercedes podium. Russell ahead of Hamilton in second and third. That will be extremely pleasing for them, who are having actually a pretty good season. I think Russell's P2 in the championship off the back of this result. So that is, they're honestly having a much better season in this than they're having in real life. I think Mercedes are slightly more competitive than they are in real life, but also, Red Bull's having a few issues over the course of this season. Sainz and Leclerc having their fair share of issues. Russell's been fairly consistent throughout the season. I think he started P9 in Australia, but he still recovered, maybe even to the podium, I forget now. But he did a very good job. Once we get through all this podium pass stuff, we'll see the full result.
Today take him to the top of the championship standings. So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
Fernando Alonso, wherever he is, whatever team he's in, when is he not just brilliant? He'll give you a performance every time, just like he's done today.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. No change in the top spot then, but with today's points, their hold on that lead is getting weaker. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. It's been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula One action. I can't wait to see what's next.
So yeah, we're still at the bottom of the standings as a result of that. And now we'll have a look at the highlights, if there are any. I'm trying to remember who I overtook. I think I overtook Lundgaard a couple of times. To be fair, I did go around the outside of a few people when there was some issues. So maybe there'll be something good. You see my battle with Stroll as we start going through down into turn 1. Plowing straight through that polystyrene board. I don't know if it was a DRS. It wasn't a DRS marker. It would have been a braking marker, actually, now I think about it. And yeah, already you can see the dirt kicked up on the side of my car. I really struggled to keep it on track and to keep it clean throughout this first lap. I'm just glad that we managed to make it through without incident. Here's me going up the hill and Stroll making his move on me. Will we see here? Is there contact? It didn't show if there was. I think he made contact earlier in the corner. So yeah, conveniently it omitted the part where there would have been contact if there was. But we stayed ahead and he didn't need to pit. So I'm going to say it was just an incident, as Carlos Sainz, as Charles Leclerc would say. Yeah, I struggled really quite a lot to keep Lance Stroll behind, and then we instantly moved to lap 20, which is where I get ahead of the front wingless Sonoda down into the hairpin, and then he basically instantaneously gets back past me. So I wouldn't really call this an overtake. Sometimes I feel like these highlight reels exist just to mock me. Here we are on lap 26, and we're being... Oh yeah, we're being lapped by Leclerc, but Lundgaard moves out of the way, which allows me through. Or is this... No, this is Sainz, isn't it? This is Sainz, who laps Lundgaard, tries to go around on me, and breaks his front wing, and then, will we see? That's definite smoke coming out of the back of his car. That's not a lock-up. I think that is genuine smoke coming out of the back of his car. I will argue this to the death, because I don't want to admit that I was at fault there. And then lap 29... This is my brawl with Fernando Alonso, where I just about stay ahead. And then lap 31, this is me crossing the line. So yeah, not very many highlights, all things considered, and none of them good. But what can you do? It was definitely a race weekend to forget. And honestly, I don't know. The AI in this game are so aggressive. It feels like they will just send on you no matter what. It feels like at every corner in this circuit they will just send one on you. You know, Alonso was going for massive lunges into the final chicane from a long way back, and I'm just like, well, you know, what do I do here? But that will be it for this video. As you can see, I had a full deduction there, so that was pretty brutal. but you know, at least Lundgaard brought some cash home. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you like and subscribe. You know, it's extremely beneficial. Also follow my TikTok because I've been posting on there, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.